What's going on, guys? Thanks for checking out this episode of Bringing the Heat. Before we dive in, I have a little announcement. We have a brand new podcast to the network. It is called Solo Shot. It's hosted by me, and it is meant to just be a 10 to 20 minute short form fantasy discussion just based around what's happening in fantasy baseball. It is not meant to replace this show in any way. It's more of a supplementary kind of moment because, as we've well documented, and you guys may have noticed, it's a little tricky for Will and I to get together right now. So we've been aiming at, instead of weekly, maybe every couple weeks. And in the meantime, I'm going to throw some stuff up on the new show. Like I said, it's called Solo Shot. There'll be a link down in the description. Check it out and let me know what you think. But until then, play that funky music. We're back, buddy, and it feels so good. Got a lot to catch up on. Let's do it, Will. What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 82 of Bringing the Heat. My name's Cody Pye, and with me, as always, the four-seam fastball co-host, Will Sism. Man, it's been a minute. I think the last time we recorded, we were just looking at the standings. Oakland was not in last. That's changed. The Mets were like 15 games under 500. And Houston's season was over. But we're back together. It's late June. We haven't, first week in June is the last time we did this, Will. But before we dive in, how the heck are you doing, man?
Doing good. It has been a little bit, but man, I'm excited for this one. This is going to be a really fun episode. You're right. We do have some things to catch up on, especially within the standings that are going to be interesting to talk about. But it's good to be back. And again, this is going to be a heck of a good episode.
Oh, it's going to be great. Hey, guys, thanks for your patience with us. I'll raise my hand. Life's just crazy right now. But as the great philosopher Pitbull said, I can't promise tomorrow, but we can promise tonight, Will. So let's dive in, buddy. We're going to do some standings. We'll do our heat check, player of the week, and had a bad day players, which is going to be interesting. Lots to pick from because it's been almost a month. And then, we were thinking about grill, guys. We were thinking about what can we do kind of for the meat of this show. And honestly, there's been so much. I mean, you got Mookie going down, Yamamoto going down. It's essentially just all injuries. Real Muto is now out for a hot second. Where we left off, it was Acuna going down.
Right.
But this is like we're close to the midpoint in the season. All-Star break is coming up. It's like 2.5 weeks away. So Will actually kicked this idea a couple weeks ago, and I just love it. We're going to redo the first round in the draft. We each have made our own list, 1 through 12, and we're going to talk about them together. Knowing what we know, what we've seen in the first half, we're going to do the rest of season. So that's going to be kind of the meat of the show, just a healthy fantasy discussion. We're also going to kick some pitchers in there, maybe like our top 5 pitchers that we like, because maybe they're in the top 12. You guys will have to wait and see. And then we're going to end it with our, it's 4th of July week, guys, coming up when you listen to this. So Roman Candle, player of the week. Stay safe out there shooting those fireworks. But let's get going, Will, here, buddy. We got the standings in the American League, and this is hot off the press because did you have this on your bingo card? We have a new king in the AL East division. It is the Baltimore Orioles, 52-30. That must be because they haven't finished their game today. I know they're playing Texas. I don't know the score, and I don't care because that means New York's not in first. We got 52-30, the Baltimore Orioles. The Yankees, 53-32. They are kind of sliding there, Will. Teams that aren't sliding. My Boston Red Sox, 43-39. They're 9 games back. Yikes. Tampa Bay Rays, 41-42, and the Blue Jays, 38-44. Go ahead and get Vladdy out of there. He says he's okay going to New York. That's what you want to hear from your star player.
Right.
I'm okay going into the, intra-divisional, rival. In the Central, Cleveland Guardians still doing their things, 52-29. The Twins in second, 45-37. Royals taking a step back a bit, 46-39. They're 8 games back. And then you got the Tigers and White Sox, because what else is new in the West? This is interesting, Will. Seattle Mariners, 47-37. They're 5 games up. The Houston Astros, 41-41. I don't know, Will. Are they coming? Is Tucker ever coming back? He was supposed to be gone.
That's a good question.
48 hours. He's been gone for 2.5 weeks. The Rangers 37-45. What's happening there?
Oh.
And then bottom half of this West is kind of they are who we thought they were.
Mhm.
LA Angels and Oakland Athletics. Buddy, it's been a while since we've looked at this. What's the biggest surprise here as you look at the American League?
Oh, biggest surprise. That's a good question. I would say Cleveland being as good as they are probably tops the list for me. The AL East is playing out kind of exactly what I thought. I mean, it's a 2-horse race. Those two teams, in my opinion, are the best two teams in the American League.
Yeah.
The Yankees and Baltimore, and I can't wait to see how this division plays out throughout the rest of the year between those teams. We talked a little bit about this, I think, last week, but I think the Rays are gonna sell this year. I think this is the year that they're just gonna replenish the farm, and the Blue Jays. I cannot wait to see what the Blue Jays do around the trade deadline. I mean, I've been hard on the Jays. I think rightfully so.
Sure.
I think they need to blow this thing up. I really do, because they're going nowhere.
Yeah.
And they've had plenty of talent, and this team there's just something wrong with it, and I don't think anybody understands it. Central wise, I think the Guardians are clearly the best team. I fully expect another team, whether it's the Twins or the Royals, to get into the playoffs as well as a wild card. Let's see if the Twins can keep that lineup relatively healthy. I think that's the key to their postseason.
Yeah.
Kansas City needs to get it together. They have been, you mentioned it, they have been on a little bit of a slide recently. So see if they can rebound. And then out west, man, I'm kind of done trying to figure this division out. Like, none of these teams are really other than the Mariners, they kind of are what I thought they would be.
Sure.
But man, I can't figure out the rest of them. Houston's definitely playing a lot better recently.
Yeah.
But the pitching staff scares me to death.
Dude,
I mean,
I saw this stat the other day. They have 4 starting pitchers on their 40-man. That JP France just went down. And he's not an ace. He's not even like...
No.
He's like a 5 like 4 or 5 at best. Yeah. He's now gone for the year. Shoulder impingement, I think I read.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in trouble, dude. Texas
is a mess right now. That lineup's not even hitting. That's the problem. The lineup's been so inconsistent. Yeah. And the pitching's going to be inconsistent because they're all on the IL. Yep. So Adolis Garcia, where is he? Yeah. Josh Young has been a huge loss. And then I saw where Corey Seager exited the game tonight against Baltimore because he got hit on the wrist. So
yeah, X-rays are negative, but man, that guy's not even that. That's something he can really control.
Yeah,
but he
it's
just
always
seems,
something.
It is, and it's crazy because when he's on the field, he's as good as a 4-category contributor.
Yep,
he's so good, and I think he gets slipped on almost every year because he can't stay healthy. And if he could ever stay on the field, I mean, we're going to talk about him in a little bit. Royce Lewis has got a little bit of this. Obviously, Buxton. A lot of those Twins, man, they just if they could stay healthy, they'd be electric. I saw that. I was reading right before we hit record that X-rays are negative, but who the heck knows, man? If I'm Texas, I'm nervous. You got Max Scherzer coming back. He's looked okay.
Yeah,
but this is his spring training. I mean, and how much length is he going to be able to give you?
Right.
Where's DeGrom going to land in this season? The bullpen past Kirby Yates. I think we talked about that last time. And that has not – it's been 3 weeks since we've spoken last. That has not materialized any better. It actually has gotten worse.
Yeah.
It's a 2-horse race because you still got the Mariners who don't –
They can't hit.
A lick. It's crazy. Julio was playing well. He's back to – I think he is one. I could actually look. He's on our home fantasy teams on my team in our home league. I've benched him. He's like 1 for 24.
Yeah.
He has been so bad. I think I saw his average just glancing at it this morning. It was like 0.51 last 2 weeks. He has been.
There's just like we can have a conversation about this another day, but there's just so much swing and miss in that lineup. Like I don't think I've ever seen a lineup in a first place team that has so much swing and miss in it.
Yeah.
I mean, you can literally, like, they're the first place team in the West, and you can literally stream starting pitchers against that lineup. It's so bad.
Yep. Yep. Pablo Lopez is going tonight. And obviously he looked good against Oakland, but who
Yeah.
doesn't?
Right.
But he's a guy that this year, as he's been trying to figure it out and has a +5 ERA,
Right.
you got to pick where you start him. He's in the lineup tonight for me because it's Seattle. I don't know what it is. And hey, we'll give you what time is it now? Well, that game's got to be kicking. We still got like 30 minutes. We'll give you some updates, guys, as we move on throughout the show. Is that take from me going to come back? Watch, they're going to score 10 runs tonight.
Right.
I mean, oh, man. Here's a team that does not have any issues scoring runs, man. Let's move on to the National League and the Philadelphia Phillies, 54-29. They are the Braves' daddies. The Braves, 7 games back. 46-35. New York Mets, man. Talk about those grimace Mets. 40-40, 12.5 games back at first with their game back of the wild card. That's pretty exciting. The Nationals, If with 39-43, they're still kind of in the hunt. 3 games back of a wild card spot. And then the Marlins, they're not in the hunt. Tanner Scott is now the last remaining guy on that team who can get traded because Jesus Luzardo is out probably for the rest of the year. I think he could come back late August, but what is the point of that?
Yeah.
As we move on to the Central, Brewers still doing their thing. They're 6.5 games up on St. Louis. Brewers are 49-34. St. Louis 42-40. They've kicked it into gear. The Pirates 39-43. Reds 39-44, and the Cubs in dead last in this division.
Yeah.
39-45, 10.5 back. That's a tough look. Have they won against Milwaukee this year? I think Craig Counsell, that's like the curse of Counsell a little bit. I mean,
Milwaukee's kind of owned them.
Big time, dude. They're getting got right now. It's pretty tough. And the West, what else is new? LA Dodgers. If we were bringing the Heat in 2011, we'd be saying the same exact thing.
Yeah.
They're in first, 51-32. The Padres, 46-41. Diamondbacks 40-43, Giants 40-43 as well. Ooh, pretty exciting. Rockies, not exciting at all. 27 wins, 55 losses. Dude, I'll ask you the same question I asked you in the American League. Dude, look at the divisions. What stands out?
Well, one thing that's shocking is how good the Mets have been these past 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So talk about something you didn't see coming. I thought I was ready to bury the Mets, and man, they've figured something out. I still don't know if that pitching staff is gonna hold up with those guys in it. But
I got a question for you about the Mets, real quick. I mean, do you think they sell? Because they have a team full of, especially that rotations, a bunch of guys on 1-year deals. You got Pete Alonso. They're saying they're not bringing him back. They want to have that money for Tucker or maybe Soto. I mean, do you move if you're the Mets right now, a game out of a playoff spot?
I think it's fascinating. I think that I think kind of I hate to say this, but I think you almost have to kind of do a little bit of both. Maybe you do sell off a couple of those guys that do have those 1-year expiring contracts just to get something back for them. But at the same time, if they keep winning like they're doing these next 2 to 3 weeks, then they can't. Yeah. Because Atlanta's vulnerable this year with their injuries, and in the playoffs, just like what Arizona did last year, you get in and you get hot, man, anything can happen. And so I think these next 3 weeks, if they continue to play well, I don't think they can really sell. If they start to cool off, then I do think that they sell off at least a few of those pieces. But it'll be fascinating. It feels like the Mets and the Blue Jays, to me, as far as the trade deadline goes, are going to be two very fascinating teams.
Yeah. With the extra wild cards coming into the fold the last couple of years, there's so many teams that are still in contention. I mean, the last place team in the Central is the Chicago Cubs. That's probably the most shocking thing to me because when I read it, couldn't believe it. They're only 4 games out of a wild card spot. So you're a hot week away from playing in October. Dude, I think if you are someone who has pieces to sell and you can commit to that, I think the price just goes up because of supply and demand. And it is going to be a ton of fun to see like where Garrett Crochet goes.
Yep.
Or, dude,
Luis Robert.
I was just about to say, Like, let him go, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Let him go. Just let him do his thing
The
somewhere
price
else.
tag will never be higher.
Seriously, and you got to wonder, fantasy-wise, if they do move a Garrett Crochet, just kind of peeling back to that real quick, if you trade for him, it's more likely he is going to pitch deeper into the season because you're not trading for him to be a long relief guy. So I think that'd be good for fantasy if that happens. Obviously, if Robert gets moved, then that's good because he's in a lineup. There's no lineup he can get moved to, even if he goes to Colorado, which isn't going to happen. But even if he does, at least he's playing in the Rocky Mountains, and boom, that ball's flying out of there.
Baltimore Orioles on line 1.
Dude, that would be disgusting.
Garrett Crochet instantly becomes their number 2 starter. Luis Robert DHs play center field for him.
That would be gross. That would be the move to put the American League on notice. Baseball on notice. Yeah, that's what we got to do, man. We got to do a free agent or trade deadline prediction show. That'd be a lot of fun. It's gonna be weird, dude, because I don't know. There's a world where 3 good pieces get moved and that's it. So it's gonna be hard to project. Anything else? I kind of cut you off, I guess. Anything in the West standing out? The Padres have picked it up a little bit.
Yeah, Padres are playing a little bit better. I mean, kind of like what you were saying about the Central. I mean, obviously the Dodgers are going to win that division, but if the Padres or the Giants or the D-backs have a 3 or 4 week stretch to where they just go on a tear, I mean, they're probably going to solidify a wild card spot. But there's so much mediocrity right now in the National League, beneath Philadelphia and the Dodgers. It's really anybody's game.
Sure.
The Cardinals are playing much better baseball, so we'll see if they can continue. That's an interesting team. So yeah, the National League is really interesting. If you take out, again, the Phillies and the Dodgers, and I mean, it is kind of a crapshoot for all the other spots.
Yeah. I mean, even the Braves are not to be, they're not untouchable. They're only 4.5 games up, they're a bad pitching injury away from. They got to make a move, and they've shown a history that they will do that. So I'm not overly worried. Yeah, Kelenic has moved up to the leadoff spot. Yes. He's been playing super well, which has been
one of their
awesome.
better players recently.
Nuts, right? I mean, I guess that's bad on Seattle and the Mets. For I don't know. Sometimes it just takes going to the right organization. I imagine. I didn't play baseball past middle school, Will, so couldn't tell you. But that'd be my guess. Here's some guys who they played middle school. They probably played in high school. And if they went to college, they would have played there too, because they're crushing it this week. Let's talk about it. Our Heat Check Player of the Week, guys. If you're new to the show, it's the hottest guys this week come out and carrying fantasy teams. All right, we have a lot to choose from because again, it's been a couple of weeks. I saw the name on your list. This is a discussion for next year, I guess, blue chip moments for the catcher position. Tell me about your guy.
Yeah, so mentioned just a few minutes ago how hot the Mets have been, and they've got about 3 or 4 guys in that lineup that we really could have chosen, but I'm going to go with Francisco Alvarez. This is a guy that, we'll see what happens over this next month or two with what they do with Pete Alonso. That's going to be the big, talking point, so to speak, with the Mets. But Francisco Alvarez, so remember, he got hurt last month. Took him a few weeks to get back. But he came back, and he has come back with a vengeance. In his past 2 weeks, get this, he has batted he's hit 16 for 29, so almost a 600 batting average, 3 home runs, had 4 multi-hit games in the span of 12 days. That's getting it done. This guy, remember, this guy was a former number 1 overall prospect. The Mets would not move him several years ago when they could have, and this guy looks to be a up-and-coming catching stud, in my opinion. So Francisco Alvarez is my Heat Check Player of the Week.
Dude, here's something that you'll love even more than everything you just said. There are statistics that show when he actually is behind the dish, catching the Mets pitching staff that their ERA drops like a full run and a half. I saw it was like 2.46 ERA when he's catching. So not only, first off, he's 22.
Yep.
Not only is he crushing the ball, which he's hitting for average. I mean, he's got a 316 average. And now he's never done that in his entire career at any level. So it's hard to say if that's going to keep up.
Yeah.
He's more of a mash the ball kind of guy. And he's done that too. I mean, he has hit some moonshots for the Mets. But, he's 22. There's obviously room to grow, work on that plate discipline. They got big plans in New York, and if they do, this guy's going to be kind of centered around him. And I'm excited to see if he can do this for the rest of the year. Where's this kid getting drafted next year? I mean, he's got to be up there, top 4 or 5 with Real Muto, maybe taking a step back. Here's this 22-year-old. Dynasty leagues, I don't think you can take him high, too high. I'll just say that. You got there's a lot of young catchers, man. The catcher position is just kind of revitalized.
Feels like the golden age of catchers right now.
It's pretty freaking sweet.
Yeah.
It really is. And, I love it. But I thought you'd love the defensive side of things. I was reading a quote about this the other day. Max Scherzer was talking about how he loved pitching to this kid. Yeah. And, I mean,
he's a great player. I think he's going to be a really good one there for a long time.
It's exciting. It's very exciting. Dude, I went youngster too. I'm going at Jonathan India just because I kind of felt bad for this guy. I mean, we're coming into the year. You got all this young talent in Cincinnati. Obviously, they popped off last year, taking a little bit of a step back this year, mostly due to injuries and PED suspensions. But this guy was going to be the odd man out. Everybody else got injured or was not allowed to play the sport of baseball for the first 80 games. And he's come out and had a pretty solid year. He's had a great last week, 15 for 25, 8 doubles, no homers, but he's just crushing the baseball right now. He's locked in, got a 600 batting average. That'll play, right, Will? I mean, that's at your second base position. I mean, what about thanks a lot, Jonathan India? This guy, a lot of people might forget, I believe played at Florida, won the Rookie of the Year. Won the Rookie of the Year his rookie year. I think it was in 21. And, kind of took some steps back, but he might be the real freaking deal. I know there was some rumors the Red Sox were going to trade for him, but we were like, no, thanks. We got Trevor Story to play second base. So that's fine. Okay. We don't want this kid. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe not a great call. Anything on India and the Reds?
I like everything you said. I mean, he struggled with some injuries too since that Rookie of the Year campaign. And, maybe he's just kind of getting his swag back, feeling healthy and trying to get some confidence back. But man, he's been so hot. I picked him up in our 8-team league. And I honestly, I didn't realize he had been that hot recently. Yeah. And I was like, whoa. Yeah. And, so yeah, man, I mean, the pedigree's there. I mean, obviously he's not going to hit 600 the rest of the year, but I mean, I think especially at the second base position, man, which is not a, not great position fantasy wise. If he can somewhat continue to produce at this level and maybe keep hitting around the top of that Cincinnati order, especially in that home ballpark, man, he could certainly be useful.
I'm with you, dude. 100%. Man, let's move on to some guys who maybe didn't crush it this week. Because you had a bad day, you take one down. Hey, your guy might have had one of the nicer starts to a season we've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
He's had a bad couple weeks though. Tell me about it.
Yeah, and here's the thing, I actually love both of these guys that we picked. But my guy for really the past 2 weeks is Luis Gil. You mentioned it. This guy was on an absolute tear before these last 2 starts. But fell back to earth a little bit with the last 2 starts. So he got the vaunted Baltimore Orioles lineup 2 starts ago. They touched him up for 7 runs. And then he ran into the red hot Mets that we've been talking about, and he gave up 5 runs. And so, just in these last 2 starts, we've seen his ERA go from just over 2, and he's up to 3.14 right now. So, obviously 3.14 is really, really good, but if you sold high on this guy a few weeks ago, and the guy sitting next to me on this show kind of did, that was a good move. Now, do I think he's going to be really good for as long as he pitches this year? Yeah. I think he's going to be fine. But I do believe, and this is another conversation we'll have another day, but I do think that we'll see his innings get a little bit limited as we go throughout this season.
They've already talked about it, like recently. And I was pretty much on, and I think everybody was. I don't think it was a hot take, but any league I had him, except for one. I wanted to hold on to one share of him. I kind of grabbed him in like pretty much every league that he was available. And I traded him in everyone. I mean, dude, I got some guys for this dude. I got Pete Alonso in a 16-team league. Like, just because when you look at him, first off, he's 26. He has never pitched this well before, and he has this kind of bugaboo, which you don't like. Control. He will walk. He's gonna put people on base. And he was pitching around it, and he was looking disgusting. And I think the window to sell, I think it almost flipped the other way. Like, everybody was pushing to sell this guy so hard that it was almost like, well, you could maybe kind of buy a little high and not pay that high for him. But he's kind of come back down to earth. The Yankees are in a tailspin. Now you have the conversation. Do you buy low on the kid? I don't know. I would not, but I don't know. He's not. His ERA went up like 65%. It was like 160 or something ridiculous. Everybody was saying he's going to be the American League Cy Young winner. He's going to go ahead and start the All-Star game. And there's no way. I would have taken. And I did this in the league. Traded Pablo Lopez for him 1-for-1. I'd rather have the experience. I'd rather have the track record. Luis Hill, that's a great call. My guy is not a guy that I think is like Dunzo for the year at all. But Royce Lewis, man, he came back from his injury. Don't ask me what he got injured this time, because I can't remember. Didn't he hurt his leg on the very first game? Yeah, it was a quad, very first game of the year. After hitting a home run. Well, he came back and did nothing else but hit home runs. I mean, the dude, it's like the Derrick Rose of baseball. Like, if he's healthy, he's the best player on the field. He's the best player in that Twins lineup. Not this week. I wrote down 1 for 17 on the spreadsheet. This is real-time updated. He 1 for 22. He is off. He's cooled off. And, so I'm not saying there's anything actionable to do here other than buy low, kick some tires. But if you trade for this guy, you have to know it's a huge risk. I mean, you cannot give up that much, because you don't know how many at-bats you're going to get. And if you trade a valuable piece, I mean, even if it's the starting pitcher, which right now in this landscape, still to this day, I will trade a really solid pitcher for a bat that will help you even at all. I mean, just because everybody needs offense. But a guy like this who can't stay healthy, I don't know. But
I agree.
The window is now, if you're that brave, if you want to go for it. I don't know, Will. What do you think on that?
I mean, there's a market, absolutely. Like, if it were me, I would say this. If it were me, it would depend on the kind of team that I already had. If I had a third baseman that I already felt fairly good about, but I wanted one that could potentially put me over the top, so to speak. And I maybe had a position of depth that I could trade someone to get somebody like Royce Lewis for. So I guess what I'm saying is it would depend on the team build. Like, I would not trade for him if I didn't have another third baseman that I at least felt good about.
For sure.
Just because, like, the injury risk is high. So I'm with you, but I don't know. Like, it's tough. You have to have the right kind of team around him if you have a guy like Royce Lewis. You cannot depend on him yet to be your, like, cornerstone type of player just yet, just because of injury.
Yeah. Man, if he's healthy, though, where are we putting him in the third base?
If you tell me he's going to play 140 or more games.
Is he with Devers and Riley, kind of in that trio?
I definitely think he's with Riley, given what Riley's kind of done this year. I still would put Devers above him just based on Rafi Devers is
He hits the ball.
He's so consistent.
Yeah.
Um,
He's got a 940 OPS this year. I didn't have that on my, and I've been watching Red Sox games.
Ravi Devers, man, I feel like he's almost underrated at this point, just from a league-wide perspective, just because I think Boston hasn't put a great team around him recently. So I would still put a guy like Devers just because of the consistent track record above him. But I would definitely, like, if you tell me Royce Lewis is healthy, which is a big if.
Yeah.
But I do. I think he's right there with an Austin Riley, no doubt.
Yeah. Dude, he's a stud. It's fun to watch.
Yeah.
And it looks like he's having fun out there. But Lord have mercy, he cannot stay healthy.
Yeah, you're just holding your breath like every time he runs.
Oh my gosh. Yep. Yeah, bubble wrap that man. Hey, let's move on. I am super excited about this. We have been trying to get together and talk about this for a hot second. We're here, man. It is time to do our midseason first round redraft. Again, like I talked about at the intro, 12 picks. We're going to go through them one at a time. And I'm excited I'm just kind of now getting a peek at your list. We might have the same 12 guys. We're going to look at it. It's going to be fun. But we're going to go, 1 through 12. So, Will, lead us off, buddy. You're on the clock. You have the number 1 pick. Who you drafting with everything we know?
You know what? I'll admit the first few guys, man, it was hard to really differentiate. I could make a really good, strong argument for about 4 or 5 of these guys.
For sure.
But I ended up going Bobby Witt, and here's why. I think, first and foremost, shortstop is kind of fool's gold, in my opinion. It always feels, in years past, it's always been one of the deepest positions and feels even deeper than it actually is. But really, when you kind of get past those first few guys, man, there's some question marks at shortstop now.
Yeah.
At least in my opinion. And so, anyways, though, going back to Bobby Witt, I would love for the Royals to have a little bit better team around him even still. And I think that brings him down slightly. But, man, a guy this good, this young, who can literally do everything.
Yeah.
He's basically the infield version of Ronald Acuna almost. He can steal as many bases as he wants to. The average is coming along like we had hoped. The power is there. I mean, literally the only question that I have is how good are the Royals going to be around him? That's really my only question.
Sure.
In a category league, like in a head-to-head league, he can literally take over a week and carry your team. And there's not really that many people that can do it. So for all of those reasons, I'm going to give a slight edge. If I had in a redraft league, number 1, I would go Bobby Witt.
Yeah. It's a great pick. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a great pick. I definitely thought about it. I went Aaron Judge. I know there's the injury kind of concern. And I still think with where he's at, on pace to do better than he did in 2022. Remember, that was the 62 AL home run record year. He's on pace to do better than that. Now, I don't know if you've looked at the Yankees lineup here recently. I would say past Volpe, Soto, and Judge, 4 through 9 is a pretty tough. Just because of injuries and the fact that Rizzo he's taken a step back and is hurt. And then you got Verdugo, who was hot. I think he's like 1 for his last 24, 26.
Yeah.
That might impede. I mean, why should this guy see a pitch to hit? I don't think.
Yeah.
I think him and Soto are fixing to get walked even
I agree.
more. And Soto gets walked all the time. But this dude is just, went 3 for 5 the other night. This dude is locked in. And I don't know, man. I don't know. I think, man, I had opportunities to take this guy in different leagues and didn't. I went for guys like Corbin Carroll and Julio Rodriguez. And that's what stings is the fact that it's like, okay. Because you can look at all the information and say, I understand why I made that choice. Yeah. Everybody would have made that choice, or most people would have coming in just because of the 5-tool potential. But to look at what he's doing and just say, like, if that was on my team, he's almost, I mean, guys, seriously, look in your leagues. Go to the top of the league. almost guaranteed. In every league I'm in, top team, top
Yeah.
2 teams has Aaron Judge on it.
Mm-hmm.
He's a freaking stud. He'll carry you in home runs, RBIs. He's got 30 home runs, 79 RBIs, hint for average 310. He will win the MVP again if he stays healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Anything on Judgy? I know he's on your list, so we're gonna talk about him.
You threw the softball up, so I'm gonna tell you my number 2 player on my list is Aaron Judge.
There you go.
And to be perfectly honest with you, it was honestly a tough selection for me with Bobby Witt and Judge. Really, the only reason I went Witt is just for the steals.
Sure.
But everything you mentioned with Aaron Judge, I mean, I think I talked about this a few weeks ago. Like there's guys, most players when they get really, really hot, like when you talked about Jonathan India earlier, for example, like most guys when they get really hot, they get 2 hits every game, they get doubles, extra base hits, throw in a home run, all that kind of stuff. When Aaron Judge gets hot, he hits 20 home runs in a month.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, like he's different, and when he is locked in, he's the closest thing I've ever seen to Barry Bonds. Like when he is truly locked in, you almost like if you make one little mistake, he's changing the scoreboard.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean, I'm with you. And so yeah, he would be my number 2 pick. And here's the thing, I have to say this. Him and Juan Soto are the absolute perfect duo in a lineup. Like they really are.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of credit needs to go to Juan Soto for Judge having this kind of year. And I think vice versa. I think because Juan Soto's having such a good year, I think Aaron Judge should get a lot of credit. So, anyways, they're both studs.
Yeah, Yankees brass, man, I think nailed it because I know coming in there was a ton of kind of speculation of, all right, is it going to be Judge first and then Soto? And I was in the camp of like, okay, yeah, let's get Judge in the 2-hole. That's kind of where he's been, and Soto third. I think having the walk king in front of Judge is just genius, and I really don't know how I didn't see that and land on that because I think I would love to know how many of the 79 RBIs are him from a home run. I mean, well, 30 of them.
Yeah.
And then is Soto on base because he gets on base at an unbelievable clip. And I'm sure he's on both of our lists, Wills. All right, number 2 for me. Corbin Carroll. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, God. I was about to walk off the set.
I got you. You know I go to bat for that kid, but he's not on this list. Okay. I tell you who is. I was going to say the Stro Show. The Show? Shohei Ohtani? Stro Show is Marcus Stroman. Shohei Ohtani, dude. I thought about putting him number 1, but to me it's kind of tough. It might not matter to clog up that util spot.
Yeah.
It might not matter though. I tell you this, next year I'm going to try and get him on more teams. I'm going in with that. Like I don't care about a tackling outfield early.
Right.
I want to just have this guy and like watch him and get to enjoy it because he has been unreal. 322 average, 25 home runs, 61 RBIs, 16 steals. That was the big thing for me. Is like, do I put him at number 1? He's been unreal. 65 runs scored. He's doing this all while rehabbing with pitching. Will, I'm just looking at your list, dude. Tell me about your number 3 player.
My number 3 player is Shohei. So I mean, we're kind of lockstep. Obviously, I had Witt 1, and I'm probably assuming that he's coming close here for you in a minute. But going to Shohei, I mean, everything you were saying. I mean, I think the only question that I have about Shohei is like next year when he starts to pitch again.
Yeah.
Does that? I'm not saying he's going to drop to like a mediocre hitter, but like, does that, change the game just a little bit for him to where obviously this year he might win the NL Triple Crown.
Yeah.
So next year when he starts pitching again, does he maybe drop just a little bit of a level just because he's having to kind of balance the two again? Like that's honestly my only question.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. I did also think about putting him. Do I put him before Witt? Do I put him before Judge? But man, those top 3 guys for me,
Yeah.
I think are pretty clearly the top 3 players. But I tell you what, the next couple that I'm about to talk about, they're up there too.
Yeah. Hey, dude, what can you say about this guy? He had a 1.066 OPS last year. He's 1.0 this year. I mean, it's crazy the number. You know, you should just go look at his baseball reference page because I don't think we appreciate it enough. I mean, we watch him and it's unbelievable, and it feels like every night he's hitting a opposite field shot 455 feet. But you look at these numbers, it's absolutely gross. And dude, anybody could have had this dude when he came over. It's crazy. Woo, good for the Dodgers, man. Good for the Dodgers, and it's good for us for getting to watch this and just witness this guy. My number 3 pick is another guy that I rarely have on a team. In fact, I don't know that I've ever had him on a team. And next year I'm going to try hard, guys. Juan Soto, number 3. Juan Soto, 302 average, 20 home runs, 60 RBIs, 4 steals, 68 runs scored. I mean, what can you say about the guy? I know he's your boy. You love him. He's. I was going to look up the walk numbers here. I thought I had him pulled up, but I don't. He always leads the league in walks. There's no doubt about it. And this year is no different. I mean, 69 walks to 60 strikeouts. This dude has 80 grade eye at the plate. I mean, what can you say about this kid?
I mean, Juan Soto is just unbelievable. I mean, the guy is just a machine, just almost like a throwback type player, you know, a throwback player for the modern game. And you know, you keep throwing these softballs up to me. He's my number 4 player.
Are we like stair stepping this the whole way?
Yeah.
Oh man.
But yeah, Juan Soto's my number 4. So just to recap, I had Witt, then I had Judge, then I have Shohei. Now I've got Soto at 4. You know, the biggest thing too with Soto is obviously it depends on the league structure. So if you're in any kind of a league that values on base percentage, I mean, you could make the argument to put Juan Soto number 1 if you have an on base percentage, you know, category or whatever the case might be in your league.
Yeah.
But as I said earlier, just the combination of him and Aaron Judge is so perfect. And you said it, like that Yankees lineup. I mean, thank goodness Anthony Volpe's kind of taking that next step. But man, that once you get past those 3 guys, and now with Stanton hurt, I mean, that Yankees lineup isn't great.
Nope.
But man, those 2 guys are just unbelievable. So yeah, I had Soto at 4, and you could absolutely make the argument to put him a little higher.
Okay, at 4 for me,
Bobby Witt.
Nope, Gunnar Henderson. Give me Gunnar, man. I like Gunnar over Witt, and I here's my thing about it. I feel like what Witt has in steals, because he's coming up for me, right? So he has 22 steals. Gunnar has 13. But Witt has 12 home runs. Gunnar has 26. I mean, he's found his big daddy stroke this year.
Yeah.
And he's been fun to watch, man. I got him on a few redraft teams, no dynasty leagues, and that makes me sad because he's going to be first round next year. He will be a top 5 pick. And, you know, one unanimous. Here's the contrast, right? Unanimous rookie of the year last year in the American League, Gunnar Henderson. Unanimous rookie of the year in the National League, Corbin Carroll.
Yeah.
These dudes are going in different directions.
They are.
And Gunnar is looking like a perennial top 5 MVP player. And I just think what's not to love. And I think the average is going to get better because nobody works harder than this kid. I've read about how, you know, he's the first one there. He's the last one to leave. He just loves ball, man. And it's a good thing Baltimore found a way to get these new owners in the fold because they're going to have to spend a pretty penny to lock up Gunnar and Adley. But I think you're looking at a duo right there that's going to bring a lot of titles to the town of city of Baltimore. I do. What's not to love about this kid?
I agree. I mean, I try to be a homer. I try to just go with straight facts when we're doing our recordings, and I couldn't put Gunner any lower than 5. And that's where I've got him. Yeah, I've got him at 5, and I was trying not to be a homer because like I wanted to put him a spot or 2 higher. But I put him at 5. And for all the reasons you said, I mean, everybody knows how much I love Adley Rutschman, but Gunnar Henderson's the Orioles' best player. Adley might be their most important player, but Gunnar's their best player. And this guy, you said it. I mean, like when you watch this guy play, I think you sometimes forget how big he is. I'm pretty sure he's like 6'3". Like the guy's a dude, and you know he hits whenever they're playing a right-handed pitcher. He's hitting lead off. Sometimes when they play a lefty, he hits cleanup. But I mean, he's got everything. As you mentioned, he's only behind Aaron Judge in home runs. He's stolen 13 bases so far.
Yeah.
That lineup around him is really good. And I think we're just scratching the surface. We've got a guy here that is 22, 23 years old.
Yeah.
He's going to hit at minimum 40 home runs this year. And this feels like only the beginning. You know what I mean?
100%.
I mean, we're looking at a guy who's going to hit 40 home runs, maybe steal close to 25, 30 bases.
Yeah.
And the guy's 22, 23 years old on arguably the best team in the American League. And so I'm with you. I mean, 5 was as low as I was going to put him.
Yeah, he's a stud. And let me tell you what's going to be tough, and I'm excited to see where it lands. The Bobby Witt, Gunnar Henderson, who's going to win the All-Star bid at shortstop, is going to be gnarly because they're both unreal. I think if you're walking in this year, it's nice that Gunnar has that third base eligibility, but that's going to be gone next year.
Yeah.
So
and I will admit on Gunnar, I'm usually just based on my track record. Like I've been doing fantasy baseball a while now, but based on my track record, sometimes I'm a little bit slow to the party on the young players. But this was one that I feel that I was right on because I drafted him in both of my leagues this year, and I had a feeling about this guy, and so he's even better than I thought he would be.
Dude, he's the real deal. I mean, he slumped the first 6 weeks of last year, and he has not stopped since then. I mean, he's picked it up, and he's going to the moon, dude, and good for you. I think it's a beautiful call. Number 5 for me, because that's where we are now. This is where the ladder stops because this is where Bobby Witt is. And like we said, it's nothing personal. I think if I was at the 5 and somebody took Gunnar at 4 and I was like, okay, I would take either and I'd be happy to start building my team. I think it's going to be the conversation of all conversations of who's going to be the top shortstop next year. It's going to be a lot of fun to talk about. And we look forward to having that discussion with, me with you. And then all you fine folks out there, let us know in the comments we got to put a poll up. I got to figure out how to do that. Bobby Witt, number 5. Number 6 for you, Will. I know it's not Bobby Witt.
I know, right? This is where the ladder ends. So, okay. This is where it gets really fun for me because I did feel like there was kind of the easy top 5 right now. And then there was really like a kind of a little bit of a next tier of guys that are all awesome, just not quite on that very top pedestal, so to speak. But the guy I went at number 6, I feel like this guy is so perennially underrated.
Yeah.
And I'm just not going to underrate him anymore. Jose Ramirez.
Man. Yep.
I mean, all this guy does year in and year out is produce. Plays in Cleveland. A lot of people forget about him. You could make a really strong argument for this guy to be the AL MVP.
Yeah.
You know, he does everything. He hits for power. He steals bases. He's one of the league leaders every year in RBIs. The Guardians have come out of nowhere this year, and he's a huge reason why. I just think Jose Ramirez He might be. He's kind of like a younger version of Paul Goldschmidt in the fact that I feel like in this generation of players, I feel like Paul Goldschmidt's been one of the more underrated players of this generation. I also think Jose Ramirez is one of the most underrated players of this generation. He is unbelievable. Kudos to him for taking a team friendly deal to stay in Cleveland as well. I like to see that.
Yeah.
But man, what a great player. I think he's perfect at number 6 here.
Yeah, it's a great call. He is, I'm just going to his baseball reference here. He has been, since 2016, every year outside of 2019, he's been a top 10 MVP guy. And he's got a couple twos in there, a couple threes. He's a stud. I think he's going to be the topic of a YouTube video in a couple years. So like, how did Jose Ramirez not win an MVP when we get back to looking at his statistics and he somehow has 450 home runs and is a first ballot Hall of Famer because he's a stud. And guess who's leading in RBIs this year? It's J Ram on a team where you don't get excited about their offense. I mean,
right.
And you know what? They haven't been bad. They have not been bad. But I think once you get past the first 4 in that lineup, it's a little bit like who?
Yeah.
Who just hit that ball?
Yeah.
There was a dude. Do you see the guy they called up? I'm blanking on his first name.
Yes.
I know what it is. I don't know how to say it. And apparently, I heard on the broadcast they call him Big Christmas because his last name's Noel, and he's humongous. And he lit somebody up. It might have been Waka or he took somebody deep the other night. I was like, holy moly, he looked like that Franmil Reyes for them a couple years ago. So they're looking for power, and we'll see what they do. If they can make a move at the deadline, they're looking pretty good in Cleveland. I like that, man. I like that pick at number 6. I went Bryce Harper. Here. And I know he's got the hamstring thing. And so we're going rest of the season with this. I still like, dude, he's been so good. 303 average, 20 home runs, 58 RBIs. We were concerned about his power, kind of a power outage last year. That has not been a problem. The dude is smashing over 900 OPS, 4 steals, 52 runs scored. Dude, he seems like he always shows up in the clutch, doesn't he?
God, he really does. I mean, I love that pick. So basically, you're going with Bryce Harper as the number 1 first baseman now, right?
Yeah.
I would too.
Yep.
I would too. I'll get to him in just a minute, but I'm with you. I mean, I had a feeling. I picked Bryce Harper for NL MVP in our preview show. So I mean,
it's gonna be him or Shohei. It's gonna be him or Shohei.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. I mean, Bryce Harper's been as advertised, and I kind of had a feeling that last year was going to be a blip in the radar because of that elbow he was coming off of. But he is back and as good as ever. So, speaking of Phillies,
yes,
my number 7 is Trey Turner.
Ooh, I like it.
I think it's kind of like Jose Ramirez. I think Trey Turner's kind of underrated at this stage too.
Sure.
I mean, this was a guy that a couple of years ago was the unanimous number 1 overall guy in fantasy. He might not quite steal as many bases as he used to. I think part of that is because the Phillies lineup is so good, they don't necessarily have to manufacture runs. Obviously, he spent a little bit of time on the IL, but he's back now. Man, I don't know. I think Trey Turner's awesome. So he is my number 7 guy, just beneath Jose Ramirez.
Yeah, he's having a great year, and I'm going to talk about him in a little bit. We might have the same 12 guys. We're getting to the point where I'm like, we might have the same 12 guys.
I mean, we do think very much alike. The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree on fantasy here.
Yeah, you're like my master splinter, and I'm like a turtle. You know what I mean? So I'm the one that likes pizza. They all like pizza, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. This is starting to make a ton of sense. Yeah. Number 7 for me is J Ram. So we just talked about him. I mean, what more can we say? We'll move on. He's an absolute stud. Number 8 for you, Will.
Number 8 is Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker. Obviously, the injury is a little bit of an unknown.
What is happening there?
Yeah, so injury is a little bit of an unknown, but for regular season,
Yeah.
I mean, this guy, I cannot argue with how good this guy is, at least in the regular season. I mean, that Astros lineup produces. There's plenty of talent around him. If he's back hitting in the, top 3 or 4 guys in that lineup whenever he gets healthy, he is going to produce. He was on pace to be one of the league leaders in home runs.
Yeah.
We've also seen him steal 30 or more bases. I mean, this guy is fantasy gold.
Yeah.
And so anyways, obviously we hope that he comes back at some point soon. I haven't seen any really latest updates that he's coming back at any point soon. So that is a wild card, but injury aside, if this guy is healthy, then he's going to really help your fantasy team.
Yeah. Dude, it's not looking great. So it's been 3 weeks. This is from the 25th, which was 4 days ago.
Yeah.
He's taking some swings off a tee, and he could start running soon. What happened? I mean, it didn't look good. It didn't look good when it happened.
Sounds like it's like a bone bruise or something.
It must have got him in the most unoptimal. Is that a word?
Yes.
Oh, Word Check with Will. That's the first edition of Word Check with Will. Shout out to the OGs out there. Yeah, dude, I don't know when he's coming back. He sure is sitting in the IL for a couple of teams for me. I need him to do something.
Yeah. Assuming the guy's healthy though, like I could have bumped him a little bit, but assuming he comes back in the next couple of weeks, man, this guy's a difference maker as far as fantasy goes.
I love it, man. Hey, number 8 for me. Because that's where we're at now. Number 8, Freddie Freeman. Average. 295, 12 home runs, 50 RBIs, 3 steals, and 51 runs. I actually, in my head, when I was thinking of this list, had him higher. But he's come down on the steals. He's not running as much this year. I really don't know why that is. I tell you what, Will Smith needs all the help he can get right now. I mean, he has fallen off a little bit. So let's get on second base for old William. Freddie Freeman, dude, he is as consistent as they come. Anything you like about him?
Yeah, I'll get to him in just a few minutes, but I love where he's at in your rankings. I mean, just as you said, and I try to get this point across, like kind of in our breakdowns and our preseason stuff, like just being able to get a guy that you know exactly what you're going to get, like what you mentioned earlier about Julio Rodriguez, even like a guy like that we thought was a top 2 or 3 overall guy, you're passing on guys, and obviously it's easy to say right now, like I get that, but you're passing on guys like Freddie Freeman where you can take it to the bank that Freddie Freeman's going to hit 290 or better, 25 home runs, 100 and 100.
Yep.
And there's so much value in that.
Yeah, I think people just get so enamored with the potential of like, okay, they're under 25 and they just stole 30 bases and they just hit 30 home runs, and and I'm with you. And maybe I'm learning this lesson a little bit the hard way. And like we talked about last time, you draft 25 other guys.
Right.
Obviously, it's helpful when you hit on your first guy, just like we talked about with Aaron Judge and Ohtani. Like, bottom dollar, those guys are at the top of the leaderboards as far as teams doing well in your fantasy leagues. But Freddie, dude, everything you said, he's just so consistent. Well, I texted you something in the offseason because we had 2 keepers and you had Freddie and Soto. And I forgot what it was, but it was something like their
ceiling is also their floor.
Yeah, it's just like they are just gonna get on base and hit doubles, and that's the worst thing that can happen. I mean, they're gonna walk.
And that's what I've always done. Like so just for any of our new listeners out there, like we do our home league and we do 2 keepers, and like I've always tried to get keepers that, like, you might look at them going into the season and see another team that has 2 other keepers that have this massive potential and upside. But I come in with guys like Soto and Freddie, and I'm like, well, I know I've got two guys that are going to hit 300 with 30 bombs and 100 RBIs. So now I can just build with whatever I want. And
Pillars.
so there's just, again, doing this a while, like there is so much value in getting guys who are supposed to be your best players on your team that you know exactly what you're getting from them and still have an amazingly high ceiling, and that's what those two guys offer.
Yep, 100%, dude. And it's worked out well for you. You're doing awesome. 9. We're on 9, right? Go ahead,
Number
bud.
9. So you mentioned him earlier, Bryce Harper. I was also tempted to bring him a little bit higher on the list, but I couldn't quite put him above a couple of those other guys. But he is also now, he is even above Freddie on my list. It's the first baseman off the board at number 9. And here's the thing about Bryce Harper. You mentioned his power coming back. That Phillies lineup, when those guys are healthy, man, that lineup is so solid. So he's got guys on base in front of him. He's got plenty of guys behind him to where guys aren't going to pitch around him. And man, what can you say? I mean, he's other than the hamstring thing, which, you know, hopefully he's only out for about 2 weeks, but the guy looks healthy and might win NL MVP.
Yeah, dude. He's looking solid. 9 for me, Trey Turner. Trey Turner. And I don't know. He's I don't know how many more years we're gonna get of like prime Trey Turner. I think we're gonna look at that contract he signed last offseason, and it's like, oof, you know, right? Because isn't that like 11 years?
I think so.
I'm like blanking on what the number is. A lot, like 300. So he's gonna be in Philly for a long time.
Yeah,
there's gonna be old man Harper and Turner years.
Yeah.
You know, just sticking with the Philly thing. That's gonna be pretty interesting. But for now, you know, come back from injury, but the average has been there at 330. He's only got 3 homers, but again, he missed a lot of time making that electric play. He stole home on a wild pitch from second base. So absolute stud. He's electric and a lot of fun to watch. Number 10, Will.
Number 10. Here's a little new name so far. Yordan Alvarez.
Samesies. We can group them, dude. I got him at 10. Is this our first one that we actually matched?
I think so, yeah. Yordan Alvarez is number 10. I just, you know, going back to what we were just saying about Soto and Freddie, I mean, there's just, again, so much value in guys with such high floors.
Yeah.
You know, with this guy, I mean, he reminds me a lot of Juan Soto. He, you know, he controls the strike zone really well. Lefties don't bother him as a left-handed hitter. You know, obviously hits in a really good lineup. That Houston lineup's always been good. You know, you guys who have been listening a while, y'all know that I don't really necessarily target steals, you know, unless they just kind of fall to me. But
sure.
You know, if you're building a team and you don't necessarily care about trying to win the league in steals, this is your guy, man.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
I mean, a guy who's going to hit around 300, he's going to hit 30 or more home runs minimum, drive in over 100. I mean, he's as good of a hitter, pure hitter as there is.
Yep. And I think that's something to think about. I don't know if it's injuries. I don't know what it is. I feel like he didn't get as much respect. I mean, because you can throw him. He's not that far from Juan Soto. He's really not. I mean, he's a young pup still. I think it's the health concern, but he will fall to 10 or 12, and people are going to take guys like Corbin or J-Rod or anybody who can give you a steal that is exciting. And, you know, I think in a couple years ago, before they made the pizza box bases and the 3 pickoff rules, like, you can get steals in a lot of different places now. And so what you can't find is a lot of guys that control every at-bat they're a part of. And Juan Soto, Yordan Alvarez, Yordan Soto is that. And I think he's a stud, and he's a lot of fun to have on teams. He kind of had a little bit of a dip, and I went after him in some leagues, and man, you can just kind of enjoy watching it because it feels like more times than not he's getting on via hit or a walk. We both had Jordan at 10. Number 11, buddy. Who you got?
Number 11, Freddie Freeman.
I like it. I like
this
it.
might be too low, but Freddie does what he does, just like what we said earlier. And let's not kid ourselves. Hitting at the top of that lineup and at Los Angeles does not hurt him.
No.
Because, I mean, by Freddie's standards, it feels like he's having just a slight down year this year, but it's still like 290 something with some home runs, plenty of runs scored, and plenty of RBIs. So it's just, again, I just can't say this enough. Guys that you just know what you're getting. See Corbin Carroll, see Julio, see whoever else you want to throw in there. Like, there's just so much value in the guys that have high floors.
Absolutely, buddy. 11 for me, Kyle Tucker. We talked about him. I feel like he's low, but it's just because he'd be higher if he was playing. I just feel like there's something else going on. And I really don't know what it is. It's kind of a weird hunch I have. But like, why isn't he here? Why isn't he back? Where is Kyle Tucker? The Kyle Tucker story. 30 for 30 coming this summer to you. I don't know, dude. It is wild. Number 12. I think we might have the same guy. I haven't looked. I want to say it on the count of 3 because there's one guy that I kept waiting on you to say because I thought you would, and you haven't. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go 3, 2, 1 and say his name. All right? Just like Beyonce. Right?
Let's do it.
Okay. You ready? 3, 2, 1.
Ellie De La Cruz.
That's what I'm talking about. I knew it. Take it away, Will.
So, Ellie De La Cruz, I don't know how you felt about it. I was honestly torn.
Yeah.
But I couldn't leave him off the list.
Yeah.
Because I feel like in 2025, he's going to get drafted in probably like the top 5 in some leagues, and he's definitely going to probably be a top 10 player in most leagues.
Yeah.
The upside is unbelievable. The downside is also unbelievable.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen a player come into the league from a fantasy perspective like this before.
Yeah.
And so I'm having a really hard time we're like targeting where he really should be ranked, at least in my head.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I'm almost at a loss for words here, but I'll put it this way. He can single-handedly, if you play in a category league, like a head-to-head weekly league, he can literally single-handedly win you steals.
Oh yeah.
He can also lose you batting average any given week.
Yeah. Strike out. He will strike out 250 times this year.
Yeah, the strikeouts are a problem. But he also is a switch hitter. He plays in as hitter friendly of a home ballpark as you can get outside of Colorado.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I just, Cody, I'm interested to see what you have to say. I could not leave him off the top 12.
I couldn't either. Either. There were a couple guys. I thought about going with the first pitcher.
Yeah.
That was like legitimately my first thought.
Yeah.
And then I thought about like Marcel the Shell, Marcell Ozuna, just like rest of season, the dude is raking, and his numbers are not that dissimilar from like an Aaron Judge, believe it or not. And but yeah, dude, the thing about Ellie is there are people in the fantasy like world that are gonna have him up there with Witt and Henderson just because of what they can do. And people will take him for that upside. I mean, the upside's insane. And I mean, even if you're in like a rotisserie league, you can take him, you'll win steals. You'll win steals. Because think about it. In a 5x5 rotisserie league, who gives a rip about strikeouts? No, but it's going to hurt your average. Sure. But you can get average other places. But where it really stings is like the little bit more intricate leagues we play in where, strikeouts are a factor, walks are a factor. He's not going to walk a lot, stuff like that. On base percentage, la. But dude's going to hit home runs. He's going to steal a ton of bases. And, and he's just awesome to have. He's fun to have.
He is fun.
No doubt.
He's got the fun factor working in his favor.
One
Um,
billion%. And I would not be surprised to see him go like top 3. I really wouldn't.
no, I wouldn't either. But I think that's what it comes down to. Like I'm a very much a realist, and kind of the way I look at it is, in future years, if I play in, let's say, a 10 or a 12 team league,
yeah,
I can almost guarantee you that there's somebody else in that 10 to 12 team league that's going to like him a lot more than I do.
yep.
And so he or she is going to pick him higher than I would. I would pick somebody, like a Juan Soto, for example, whereas somebody, honestly, if they were picking 4th or 5th, might pick Ellie, and so I probably, at least in the next year or so, depending on what happens with his trajectory, probably won't own him too often on my fantasy squad.
Yeah, I think it's a beautiful call. He's so streaky. I was going to look real quick just over the last 10 days. 317 average, man. 963 OPS, still striking out 27% of the time.
Yeah.
But 2 homers, 5 RBIs, walked 4 times. Yeah. But there was a season where he was batting like 180 for like 4 weeks. And so his average, I was surprised to see it up to 250. 252, 14 home runs, 36 RBIs, 39 steals. It's he's awesome. He's a lot of fun to watch, and he's a freaking stud, dude. He's a freaking stud. How you want to do pitchers? You want to just roll through them real quick because we're pushing like an hour 10.
Why don't we both give our top 5 in order, and we'll kind of discuss our list? Because I'm assuming we've got at least 3 or 4 that are the same. Real quick though, I do want to mention I would have put Mookie Betts in there, but we don't have. We really don't have a great timetable on when he's going to get back. And then obviously Acuna would have been in there, but obviously he's out for the year. So I at least wanted to mention those 2 guys because those 2 guys would have absolutely taken 2 of those spots.
Yeah, Mookie's who I thought about for 12 as well. Yeah, I'm glad you said that because he's crushed. It's a shame what happened.
Yeah.
But that's how they get these guys out, man. Is trying to throw inside and you're going to get hit. You see it all the time. We've seen it a lot recently. Corey Seager, Correa just got hit in the hand. And like he's okay, but I feel like every other night I turn on MLB Big Inning and you see somebody getting hit in the hand. All right, buddy, let her rip. I know for a fact we have to say, just look at the list. There's no way we don't have the same 4 pitchers. The 5th one, I was surprised with myself, but I'm just so impressed with this kid. Tell me about your 5.
So, I'm with you. So, the top 4 for me were very easy. So I went, and this is the order that I've got them. I've got number 1, Zach Wheeler. I've got number 2, Corbin Burns. Number 3, Tarek Skubal.
Okay.
4, Glasnow. And then Skeens at 5.
We got the same 5 guys.
Is that in the exact order you have them?
No, I have, dude. The only difference is I like Glasnow at 3 and Skubal at 4.
Okay, so you've got Glasnow 3, but do you have Zach Wheeler number 1?
I like Wheeler at 1, dude.
I do too.
I think even though his ERA is a little higher than Corbin Burns, and his WHIP's a touch higher too. The Ks per 9 being over, being over 9 is. I don't know, dude. We talked about this. Corbin Burns' K per 9 is like 8.05.
Right.
And it's not by accident. I think he's done that on purpose to try and pitch to more contact because the stuff is so nasty that he realize he didn't need to strike everybody out, and he's going deeper into games. That is a proven fact, and I think Baltimore appreciates that, especially with the injuries to their pitching staff. For fantasy, it dings his value a little bit. Obviously, less strikeouts. You got guys like Zach Wheeler, who he's just going to pitch 200 innings, and he's going to strike out 130 or 230 guys. You want to tell me about the back half, or what do you want to hit on your list and tell me kind of how you're feeling?
So I'll put it this way. So those top 2 guys, so Wheeler number 1, Burns number 2. So pitching this year's been kind of weird to me. Like the way that I see it, I feel like that. So I went with Wheeler and Burns at 1 and 2, just because I feel like those are by far the most consistent 2 guys. Like no matter who they're playing, you roll them out there and you feel really, really good that they're going to go 6 or 7 innings, only going to give up a couple runs, give you, a decent amount of strikeouts at least, right? Those are the only 2 guys that I feel like that there's a very small percentage chance that they're going to throw a turd,
Yeah.
And so that's why, like, there's huge value in that.
Yeah.
And so now going to 3, 4, 5. So I put Scooble at 3. Just because I think he's incredible. Like, I've watched him pitch a few times this year, and I'm like, man, if this guy pitched on the Dodgers or the Braves or, name Philadelphia, like any of the teams that are at the top of the league, I mean, everybody be talking about him. I mean, this is a guy that pitches from the left-hand side,
dude,
that can throw, that tops out in the upper 90s, a wipeout slider. I mean, it's unfair when he's pitching against a left-handed batter. Like, it really is. So this guy's legit. Tyler Glasnow, I loved him in Tampa. He might be even better with the Dodgers. Like, the Dodgers look like they've kind of harnessed him just enough to where his control, pretty much his command and control, almost every start looks spot on now. And that was literally the only chink in the armor when he was pitching in Tampa, other than injury risk.
Sure.
Glass now looks like he's really turned a corner in that respect. And then Paul Skeens.
Yeah.
He's even better than I thought he would be.
I know, dude. I know. I missed on that guy big time.
I thought this guy was going to be great from the start, but he's even better than I thought. He guys at the major league can't square him up. And
the Braves. He schemed the Braves today.
Yeah, like this guy. He
schemed him alive.
if Paul Skeens can stay healthy, he is going to be a special guy for a long time. And let's just hope he can stay healthy.
I mean, if he stays healthy this year, right? He could conceivably be the first pitcher off the board, right?
Yes.
I mean, he could be.
Yes.
I would not be surprised to see him go off the board the first round.
Yes.
Because I feel like there's always one, especially in these public leagues. There's always somebody who's going after. I mean, and Strider is not on this list, obviously, because he's hurt. He's coming back. He's going to be ready for the start of the season. So that's going to be kind of interesting. How far does he fall? He's a guy that you kind of draft a little bit lower down because, people are the injury question.
Right.
I think, dude, Skeens is not a guy I planned on in this top 5. I came up with the top 4. Originally, my first was going to be Glasnow because he's just disgusting. I mean, the K per 9 is ridiculous, and the WHIP is .87. I mean, it's microscopic. He's 135 strikeouts in 100 innings pitched for the Dodgers. I think, and we think of the Rays as this pitching factory. The Dodgers just managed to keep him healthy, and I think that's every once in a while, every turn or two, go into the 6-man rotation. I mean, they did that for Yamamoto because that's kind of what he's used to. Didn't work out for him. He's on the shelf right now, but I think he's just as advertised, and he's a freaking stud. But the reason why I moved him down after a little bit of consideration today, bouncing the kiddo, Claire went to the gym. I was on daddy duty, and I was thinking about my pitchers. And I was like, here's the deal. I mean, we got a whole half a season to go. And so the next 3 guys on my list, I went with the 2 guys, Wheeler and Burns, that are just dependable, right?
Yes.
They're the Juan Soto, the Freddie Freeman of starting pitchers.
Right.
And, you don't have to worry. I mean, fluky things happen. You don't have to worry with those guys. They're going to be there for you. Then I decided to just rank these last 3 of, there's question marks there. Whether you think there are or not, Glasnow has had major injury history issues. Tarek Skubal has never pitched more than 149 inning pitch. He's at 97 now.
Yeah.
We got half a season to go. He got shut down at the end of August last year for left arm fatigue. And so I'm in this league. This guy, we're kicking around a deal for a pretty, not like, I would say, I'll just go ahead and tell you. It's Ketel Marte for Tarek Skubal. general. I think there would have to be a little bit of love there, with the kicker. But that could be the deal. But I'm nervous to pull the trigger because I just don't know how much longer is this guy going to pitch for a non-competitive Tigers team. They're going to save the bullets because he's under team control for a few more years. So why risk the injury? And that's the biggest reason to me why he's a little bit of a question mark. But his numbers are insane: 2.32 ERA, 0.94 WHIP, 112 Ks in 97 innings, just absolute stud. And then everything you said about Skeens, he and Jared Jones might lead, and Mitch Keller might lead the Pirates to a wild card. And if you get them in the playoffs and the offense is any kind of warm, they're gonna run, dude. They might make a run. They're insane. They have.
They're basically the Seattle Mariners, kind of the National League.
That's a good call. They play in a better division.
Yes.
Than the West. As weird as that is to say, that's a beautiful call. Will, good job, man. This is, guys, you gotta listen to the show, man, because Will is the freaking man. Hey, we got a bump with our Roman candle. So in honor of 4th of July. Straight up forgot we had one more segment. Well, I was fixing to go to the subscribe to the YouTube channel. Guys, we're at week 7 on our sheet, but I think it's like week 12 or 13 of fantasy. So just bear with us. This is the 7th time we've gotten together to do this. And I think there's a discussion. I just want to know kind of what Will thinks here. Okay, so Will he's up 3-1, mind you. He took Cody Bellinger. Now, it's been 3 weeks. Last episode dropped June 6th. So that's when I went back to pull these stats for both players. Okay. He went Cody Bellinger, 24 for 89. It's kind of fun to have like an actual sample size, right?
It is, yes.
289 average, 6 walks, 16 Ks, 3 doubles, 1 homer, 5 RBIs, and a 699 OPS. I was feeling a little confident. It's like, 699 OPS. I can beat that. That's league average this year. So, right down the middle, good for Cody. Christian Walker, 18 for 85. That's a 212 average. No walks. That's stinging him here. 24 strikeouts, 5 doubles, 5 home runs, 13 RBIs, a 688 OPS. He's not walking. He's got more doubles. He's got more home runs. Nobody has triples. I tried to put all the pertinent stuff. It's a kind of 2 middling guys, They're trying to find it. You peel the stats away, and I might be advocating for myself here, Will. I think I take the home runs and the doubles. But the strikeouts are a little bit of a bummer's feel. What we'd singing contest for it. How you feeling?
Yeah, this is weird. I mean, it's kind of like what you're saying though. The problem is like the 0 walks, and we're talking about basically a 290 average versus a 210 average. I do like the home runs. I do like the RBIs. Here's kind of where I'm at. And I'm trying to be as impartial as I can.
Here we go.
If the OPS was higher, like if Christian Walker was above 699 OPS, I would absolutely say Christian Walker. But it's below.
That is true.
That's where I'm torn. It is the walks. Like if Christian Walker would have had 6 walks like Bellinger, the OPS would have been above 700.
Yeah, that's true. Well, this is about the biggest debate we've ever had on this. Listen, we're talking about 11 OPS points. We're talking about 6 extra base hits on my guy's, ledger here.
Well, we're also talking about a 70 average points.
That's true. Okay. Would you rather have 6 extra singles or 4 extra doubles? Think of it in cheeseburgers. How many cheeseburgers would you?
That's a good point.
By the way, it's knocking on 10 p.m.
I definitely like the home runs, no doubt. I'm just having a hard time with the 212 average versus the 289 average.
Depends on your team build for sure.
Yeah. I don't know. That is a hard one. We need to open this one up. This is where we do need a poll.
Well, we can do it. We can do it. I'll send it out to the crew, man. We'll get it. We'll get it. And
Yeah.
I'll go blind. I'll go blind test. We'll get back to you guys.
Yes.
No one's gonna know who has who. Let's say made it to hour and 25 of the show, and then then they can just pick whoever they want. You know, if they
This
like
is
Will
the
better.
ultimate poll, though, right here. Like, I mean, this is too close to call.
I'm telling you, I like it, man. Moving on to our week 8 picks. We'll put a question mark by it, and we'll get back to an answer on that, guys. Week 8 picks. Will, I like your player, dude. Tell me about him.
Man, I'm not gonna lie. I'm starting to develop a slight man crush for CJ Abrams.
That's awesome.
I don't know why, but I really like this guy because he's not really my kind of player. Like, kind of middle of the road average. Power, speed is really his game. But man, I like this guy. So I'm going CJ Abrams for my my player of the upcoming weeks. I tell you what, man, the Nationals, obviously I'm sure they wish they still had Juan Soto, and Juan Soto helped bring a championship to that team. But man, it looks like Washington got some really good talent from that deal with getting CJ Abrams, who appears to be kind of their franchise player moving forward. And then James Wood is about to get called up. He came along. Yep. But anyways, going back to CJ Abrams, man, I think this guy, let's see how he ends the rest of this year. But I think this is a top 15 to 20 guy moving forward. So let's see how he does.
Yep. I'm with you 100%, dude. I love it. I love it. I'm going Bo Bichette. This is kind of like my last call on this kid.
Yeah.
And kind of the Blue Jays in general, because
now or never.
It literally is now or never. And I kind of feel like the whole Vlad comment is coming out that it's a business, and I'd go to the Yankees.
Feels like he's on his way out.
They're done. I mean, what kind of comment is that? I mean, that is an absolute no-feel comment by. And you know what's crazy is Vladdy's actually going off, and he's had a great year.
Yeah.
And just to say that is just, I don't get it. But you know what? There's some guys on that team picking it up. Springer had a 2 home run game, 6 RBI game the other night, and he had a couple doubles today. And Bo Bichette seems to be like the last piece who, for whatever reason, I don't know. He's just not going. This is a team that this is going to be a very interesting couple of weeks, because if they can put together and maybe compete and go on a run, they'll stick. It's like the Cubs back in, what was that, 2018, 2019?
Yeah.
Well, but if they have a bad stretch, they're breaking up the band.
Yeah.
So, it's going to be fun to watch. Guys, thank you for being here and checking this episode out. If you made it this far, we really, really appreciate you. Will, anything to say to the folks before we get on out of here?
This was a fun episode. Good to be back. But yeah, I love this episode, and good luck to everybody out there. We're basically at the midpoint of the season, so you know where you stand. Figure out what you need for the stretch run and the playoff push, and get it done.
Hey, you got 2 fantasy consultants right here, man. Reach out to us on Twitter at BTH_Cody and at Will Sism. You got any questions? Yeah, it's peak trade season. I mean, trade deadlines aren't really coming up, but it's like time to make a move in your league. As we hit the halfway point, you're going to have guys checking out. It's time to check in and dominate, because that's what we're here to help you do. Guys, we really appreciate you. We love you. But until next time, thanks for listening to episode 82 of Bringing the Heat.